this video, I'm going to go through step by step creating the sound file that you've seen in my other videos. This is not a tutorial in using Audacity. I don't think I've got the skill to do that, but it is showing you step by step how I used Audacity to create that soundscape file. The thinking behind the creation of the soundscape file and the steps, I suspect, will be very similar whatever software you're using to create your soundscape. So that may be helpful to you, even if how you do it in this particular piece of software is of less value. The first thing that I need to do, this is what you're seeing in front of you, is the basic Audacity interface, is to import the sound files that I'm going to be using. And that's no different if you were using, I tried it and I can create the sound file using Final Cut Pro. I suspect it'd be similar whatever video editing software you've got as well, to be able to create just a sound file. So for this I go File and Import Audio. This has gone straight to the folder which has all the sound files in, because obviously that's the one I've been using to import things. There are 6 files that I need to bring in. There's the Atmospheres at Dawn, a general ambience file, which was one that I added after the very first time, and to give a more general background hubbub, one of children playing, one of some church bells, one of a market. It's a 1960s market, so the person can be heard calling out prices in pounds, shillings and pence, which is helpful. And one of a train station, which was a more suburban style train station. There was no point having it as a major London terminus. So I import those 6 files, give it a moment to bring them all in. And they've all come in. The only problem is they're all quite wide, so all I can see at the moment is 3.5 of the files. So I need to adjust the track sizes, so fit them to height so that all 6 files are visible. I wanted the overall soundscape to run for something over 10 minutes. I wasn't entirely sure how long. I couldn't find any single track when I was looking on the BBC sound effects site that was that long that I liked or that I thought would work. So instead I decided that I would use the Atmospheres at Dawn file, which is just over 6 minutes long, and I would double its length, because the good thing about birdsong is you can just butt the two together and you wouldn't know where they join, and that would give me the overall length of the soundscape. Now I'm sure this is the same in other softwares. To do that, I simply select the Atmospheres at Dawn file, copy it and paste it in, which is what I'm going to do now. If I can get this to highlight, put that there, oops, there we go, selected it, edit, copy, move the playhead to beyond the end and paste it in. On the Mac I can use Command V to do that. I could have gone edit, paste if I wanted to do that. Equally, the hand tool then allows me to butt them up, but if you look you'll see that the song actually ends before it starts again. So what I'm going to do is just draw in the end, draw in the end of that one, and then butt them together. So the sound doesn't actually end now, it just flows one into the other. What that's given me is my overall length of time for the file. Now I'm going to zoom out a little bit so that I can see the whole length as well as the width. So this now is our file. What I'm also going to do at the end here is I'm going to bring this end in so that there's nothing, so that it doesn't, there's no silence, because when I'm playing this will play on a loop. And what I don't want is it all going dead silent and then it's starting up again, so that I want it to be seamless as the loop loops round. Having got that done, I also thought that I would want the sound of the train station to be continuous, because it would be. It's not going to suddenly stop. And the train station file was long enough that I could do the same sort of thing over again, of copying and pasting the train station to bring it up to the length that the overall length of 12 minutes, which this now sits at. But I would need with that to chop it off at the end. So I'll show you how I did that. That's a case, the train station's down at the bottom. Edit, copy, and then paste it once, paste it twice. We'll just line this up. I'll leave that there. We'll paste it a third time because, oh no, twice, that's enough. Oh, that is enough. Again, I want to just bring this file, let me highlight this one. Just bring the end of that in. If you would let me do it, come on you. There we go. Didn't pick it up properly. Then move my train station up. And similarly here, just bring that in there. And bring the train station up. I'll put the playhead now here. I didn't mean you to start. Thank you. So I'll just move the playhead so that it's sitting here. What I want to do is now cut off, because this runs longer than the bird song. So all I've got to do there is bring this in until it reaches and we should be about right there now. Just needs to come in a little bit more. That's it. Similarly, the sound of the market I thought should run all the way through, as should the sound of the ambience, because these are constant sounds. So I'll just copy and paste those again. Just take the edge of that one in, butt the market up. And what I'm doing now is selecting this end section, and then I can use the cut tool to get rid of that piece. And then I'll use the end here to bring it in line with the others. Similarly, our general hubbubby sound now needs to be done as well. I'm giving myself gaps here because if they're too tight together, it's quite hard to pick up the end of one piece to butt it into another. So we'll move that so that it butts together. We'll move this so that it's butted up to there. Put my playhead into here. And what I'm doing now is just selecting to the end of the track to delete it. There we go. and we'll kill that. So that just leaves me the children playing and the Christchurch bells going. And I didn't want those all coming in together. I wanted them to come in at different times, but perhaps with a bit of an overlap. So I moved the church bells to go pretty much up to the end, but not quite. We'll go back a bit. Just seen that. The Maidstone market cuts off too soon. There we go, that's in line. And the children playing, I wanted them to overlap a little bit, but I didn't want them coming in right from the beginning. So the children I brought to start about 2 minutes-ish. What that's done now is created my soundscape. Now the only problem is that everything there is at the same volume, and everything is playing from the absolute centre. And of course the layout, the children's sound would more naturally come from the far left. The bells from the church would come from the far right. And this is where something like Audacity really scores. You can do it in other softwares. I could do this in Final Cut Pro in just the same way. You need to be able to get in and audit this, where in the stereo field you want these sounds to be coming. But I also need to balance better the sounds, because if I play these sounds now, they would all be absolutely the same in volume. I don't know whether the microphone will pick this up. It should do, but what you've got is one sound. If I take it right back to the beginning and just press play, the birds are really quite loud here, and the overall balance needs to be worked on. So what I decided to do, I'll stop that, is moving to the side here. I can control where in the stereo field I want the sounds to sound, and how and the volume of this compared to the volume of other sounds. So, for example, the easiest one is to go to the left and right channels and move the children to be on the far left and move the bells to be on the far right. And the next part of the process is really an iterative one of you listening to it and deciding what do I want to be the predominant sound, whereabouts do they sit as looking at the layout. So again, the market is towards the centre, but it's actually to the left of centre. So with the market, I decided that that was going to move very slightly to the left. The train station is fine where it is in the centre. And similarly, the ambient sounds would also be sounds that would be left in the central, coming from the left and right fairly evenly. But I don't want all of these sounds to be as loud as each other. So for example, if I put the playhead where we've got everything playing at once, about here, what I would do is take the church bells down a bit and take the children down a little bit to balance it, bringing the bird song down as well. Now, this is a process. Every time I go back and listen to this file, I won't save this, but I go back to the file that I currently have. I think, I need to tweak it a bit. And only today, I've listened to it through a pair of headphones. So top tip, when you're doing this, I would listen through headphones, because one, it really helps you getting where the sound is coming from in the stereo, but you get a much better sense of how each file is working with another. So I'm going to go back and have another go with my audio file, you can keep playing with this and just keep playing with it till you get it as you like it. It is highly likely that all software will require you to export this as a music file. If you were to use on Audacity File and Save Project, which it's got there, it will save it as an AUP file, which is an Audacity project file. And the beauty of that, of course, is that when you open that file, you've got all the individual tracks. That won't play, however, on any kind of, whether it's your iPhone, whether it's the Mac, or whatever you're using to play your digital file. So you have to export it. And you can choose the format. MP3, I would suggest, is probably a fairly universal file to do it. You export it as an MP3 file and put such information as you want. I mean, if I start, I won't go through the whole process, but export it as an MP3 file. And here it asks you, what bit rate. Pretty much just do as it says. It will choose the best for you, unless you've got some very specific requirements. And then you just click save, and it knocks out the file into MP3 format. And that's the file you can then put onto your phone or put onto play through your PC or whatever. And I'm using some Bluetooth enabled speakers, which I'm going to play the file from. And I've got a pair of speakers because I wanted to get a really good stereo field. But that's the process by which I created this soundscape, and I could repeat it as many times as I liked, swapping in and out sounds whenever I fancy having a different soundscape, because I could choose we don't want the bells, we don't want the children, I want different sounds of a station. And as you'll have seen, there are so many files on the BBC sound effects file website that there's infinite possibilities of change. And that's another reason why I went around doing it this way and not buying a sound module, which would merely have 4 or 5 sounds that you would just have to keep using over and over. But that's the end of this explanation of how I created the file using Audacity.